I was putting groceries away earlier this week, and it might have been just last night, and I was inspired to do a speech about getting older because I had squatted down in front of the refrigerator to put some things on that bottom shelf, and I went to get back up, and I realized I couldn't get back up. I needed to actually sit down, roll over, push myself up, grab onto the handle, and then I was fine. So I thought, let's do a speech. One of the great things about this Toastmaster group is that we have a variety of age ranges. We've had high school students as informal members, all the way up to our charter members, like my evaluator today, who are well into their 100s. So we have a nice age range and experience. Betty Davis is quoted as saying, "Old age ain't no place for sissies," and she's right. So I walk you through, decade by decade, what it's like to get older, starting with your 20s. When you're in your 20s, you're new to the job market. You're less experienced with life, even though you think you know everything. One of the pros is that you have high energy, though, and you can take on the world. You're too broke to do much of anything else. On New Girl, they say, you're not quite fill your gas tank all the way full rich. And I remember those days. And then you move into your 30s. It's a myth that being 50 years old is midlife. I think 30 years old is midlife because when you're in your 30s, you're in the middle of everything. You're just finding your rhythm. You have a little bit of experience under your belt, but you have a lot more experience yet to gain. Usually you're knee-deep in work, and if you've had children, you're knee-deep in family. And you have too little time to do much more of anything other than work and raise your children. And then you hit your 40s, and now you're retro. By the time you're in your 40s, you've figured things out. You maybe have a little bit less energy than when you were in your 20s, but you still can keep up. You're still too broke to travel the world, and you're probably too time committed to be able to travel the world. But in your 40s is when you get to buy a pair of cheater glasses so that you can read the text on the page. And then you get to where I am now. You hit your 50s. Some of us who are in our 50s are so old, we can remember going through an entire day without taking a picture of anything. Do you remember those days? But now you're experiencing hot flashes and gray hair. One of the pros, though, is you get a senior discount. They might even start offering it to you when you're in your 40s, which is insulting. And for a lot of people, you get to have grandchildren and experience the joys of having grandchildren. But this is where your body really starts acting up. You start feeling your knees catch as you go downstairs. It used to be that you had a left knee and a right knee. Now you have a good knee and a bad knee. I've already mentioned how difficult it is to get up from a seating position. And as you get older, 3 things happen to you. One is you lose your memory. And I don't remember what the other 2 are. And then you hit your 60s. Now, I'm in uncharted territory, but I have parents who lived through their 60s, and so I do have some knowledge of it. If you haven't grown up by the time you're 60, you don't have to. It's too late. When you're in your 60s, you're now vintage. And the best thing about being in your 60s, anybody know? Starts with an R. Retirement. Right, the big R. You get to retire. Ideally, you get to retire. And you get to travel to Australia to see the pretty platypuses. And you're free now to do the things you want to do. But one of the cons is that Advil is now your Skittles. You need something to help you get through those aches and pains. And then we hit our 70s. The best thing I think about being in your 70s is that people are nice to you, and you don't have to be nice back. And you get to, your body starts multitasking. When you're in your 70s, you develop new skills. You can now laugh, sneeze, cough, and pee all at the same time. My dad just turned 80 last month, so I can't even talk about what it's like to be in your 80s, not intelligently. But I do want to mention that old age is not so bad when you consider the alternative. Benjamin Franklin said, those who love deeply never grow old. They may die of old age, but they die young. Don't regret growing older. It's a privilege denied to many.